48 Laws of Power. Law 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. People are naturally drawn to those who appear sincere and honest. By making just one genuine move, you create the illusion of trustworthiness. Even if your past is stained with lies and treachery, this single act can cause others to drop their guard, convinced that your intentions are pure. Once you've secured their trust, it becomes a powerful tool in your hands. You can manipulate and influence them, all while they believe in the honesty you've carefully crafted. Trust becomes your weapon, and with it, you can steer others as you please, without them ever suspecting a thing. In 1926, a tall, impeccably dressed man walked into the lair of Al Capone, the most feared gangster of his era. Speaking with an elegant continental accent, the man introduced himself as Count Victor Lustig. He boldly promised Capone that if given $50,000, he could double it. Capone had more than enough money to make the investment, but he wasn't in the habit of trusting large sums to unknown faces. Capone looked the Count up and down, taking in his polished appearance and composed demeanor. Something about him stood out, so Capone decided to see where it would lead. He personally counted out the bills and handed them to Lustig. "All right, Count," Capone said. "Double it in 60 days like you promised." Lustig took the money, secured it in a safe deposit box in Chicago, and then headed to New York, where he had several other schemes in motion. The $50,000 remained untouched in the box. Lustig made no effort to double it. 2 months later, he returned to Chicago, retrieved the money, and paid Capone another visit. With Capone's menacing bodyguards watching closely, Lustig offered a polite smile and said, "Please accept my deepest regrets, Mr. Capone. I must inform you that the plan failed. I failed." Capone slowly stood up. He glowered at Lustig, debating which part of the river to throw him in. But the Count reached into his coat pocket, withdrew the $50,000, and placed it on the desk. "Here, sir, is your money, to the penny. Again, my sincere apologies. This is most embarrassing. Things didn't work out the way I thought they would. I would have loved to have doubled your money for you and for myself. Lord knows I need it. But the plan just didn't materialize." Capone sagged back into his chair, confused. "I know you're a con man, Count," said Capone. "I knew it the moment you walked in here. I expected either $100,000 or nothing. But this, getting my money back? Well, again my apologies, Mr. Capone," said Lustig, as he picked up his hat and began to leave. "My God, you're honest!" yelled Capone. "If you're in a tight spot, here's $5 to help you out." He peeled off 5 $1,000 bills from the $50,000. The Count seemed stunned, bowed deeply, mumbled his thanks, and left, taking the money. The $5,000 was what Lustig had been after all along. Count Victor Lustig, the man who famously sold the Eiffel Tower twice, was one of the greatest con artists of modern times. Fluent in several languages and always refined, Lustig was a master of human psychology. He could quickly size up anyone, identifying their weaknesses, and his instincts for spotting suckers were unmatched. Lustig knew that most people build defenses against crooks, but he also knew how to tear those defenses down. His secret weapon? Selective honesty. Who would suspect someone caught in an act of apparent sincerity? Lustig used this tactic often, but with Al Capone he went further. Most con artists would have avoided Capone, fearing for their lives. But Lustig understood that a man like Capone, surrounded by deceit, would be disarmed by an unexpected act of honesty. Lustig's bold move caught Capone off guard, tapping into his deep-seated desire for a genuine gesture. The con artist knew that even the most brutal and cynical can be softened with the right approach. A well-timed act of sincerity can have even the most ruthless figures eating out of your hand. The core of deception lies in distraction. When you distract those you aim to deceive, you create the perfect opportunity to act without their notice. An act of kindness, generosity, or honesty is the most potent distraction, as it melts away suspicion and lures them into a false sense of security. They become like children, eagerly soaking up your apparent affection. In ancient China, this strategy was known as giving before you take, a cunning move that blinds the victim to the impending theft. Directly taking something is dangerous, even for the powerful, as it breeds revenge. Asking for what you need directly can breed resentment. Instead, learn to give first. It softens the ground, making your later demands seem less imposing, or simply serves as a perfect distraction. This giving can take many forms: a gift, a favor, or a seemingly sincere confession. Selective honesty works best in your first encounter with someone. First impressions are powerful, and if you establish yourself as honest from the start, it's difficult for others to believe otherwise later. This initial honesty provides room to maneuver and manipulate as needed. However, sometimes a single act of honesty isn't enough. What's required is a reputation for honesty, built on a series of small, seemingly inconsequential acts. Once this reputation is solidified, it becomes a shield, allowing you to deceive without suspicion. Remember, by playing on people's emotions, calculated acts of kindness can turn a Capone into a gullible child. As with any emotional approach, the tactic must be practiced with caution. If people see through it, their disappointed feelings of gratitude and warmth will become the most violent hatred and distrust. Unless you can make the gesture seem sincere and heartfelt, do not play with fire. When you have a history of deceit behind you, no amount of sudden honesty, generosity, or kindness will fool anyone. In fact, it will only draw more suspicion. Once people see you as untrustworthy, any abrupt display of honesty is likely to raise red flags. In such situations, it's often better to embrace the role of the rogue. Count Lustig, pulling the biggest con of his career, was about to sell the Eiffel Tower to an unsuspecting industrialist who believed the government was auctioning it off for scrap metal. The industrialist was prepared to hand over a huge sum of money to Lustig, who had successfully impersonated a government official. At the last minute, however, the mark was suspicious. Something about Lustig bothered him. At the meeting in which he was to hand over the money, Lustig sensed his sudden distrust. Leaning over to the industrialist, Lustig explained in a low whisper how low his salary was, how difficult his finances were, on and on. After a few minutes of this, the industrialist realized that Lustig was asking for a bribe. For the first time, he relaxed. Now he knew he could trust Lustig. Since all government officials were dishonest, Lustig had to be real. The man forked over the money. By acting dishonest, Lustig seemed the real McCoy. In this case, selective honesty would have had the opposite effect. Nothing in the realm of power is set in stone. Overt deceptiveness will sometimes cover your tracks, even making you admired for the honesty of your dishonesty. You can like and subscribe to our channel only if you find us valuable.